Hi, Eric Gibaud, ericgibaud.com, and today we're going to speak about the sentence that we hear a lot in the world of photography, which is, it's not the arrow, it is the Indian. Let's start. So very often we hear this sentence, and it's funny because they always use it to justify that they have the knowledge and it's not the gear. Okay, so if it's some expert photographer or pro photographer, when you tell him, yeah, but honestly, with anyone with a gear like yours would make a great picture, say, no, it's the Indian, it's not the arrow. But also we hear that from people who start in photography, beginners, and when you tell them, if you had a better camera, probably you would make better pictures, and he says, no, this is thanks to the knowledge I have right now, even if they don't have much knowledge. Okay, so really, normally people use this sentence to defend themselves and justify that they have the knowledge and the result is not due to the camera they're using. But there is still something really curious, strange, is that people, especially beginners, they always ask the same question when you tell them it's not the arrow, it's the Indian. And I think this question is great because it's probably true, is, well, why do expert photographers or professional photographers try or usually have the best gear? If they have all this knowledge with all what they know and what they can do, why do they need the best gear? Isn't it more logical that I have the best gear as a beginner, so it helps me, and as they have the knowledge, they don't need the best gear because their knowledge will compensate all that? So this is a really great question. I think it is really sensible, and I'll answer to that a bit further. But this is normally what people answer to this Indian stuff, okay? Because I think there is a sentence that we should not forget either. It's, you can make a great picture with any camera. Yeah, it can be a film camera, a stenopy with a pinhole camera. You can have a smartphone. You can have a top camera, whatever. You can make great pictures with any camera. But many people forget to tell the second part of the sentence, which is, but you cannot make any pictures with any camera. And this is really important because I cannot make a picture, a close-up of the moon with a wide-angle lens. Obviously, it's just not possible. So I need the right gear for the picture I want to make. So yes, I can make great picture of the moon with a wide angle, but not any picture of the moon. And this is the thing. So this is important that yes, you can make great pictures with any camera, but you cannot make any pictures with any camera or any gear. This is really important, or any lens. Okay, what people should not forget is that the more knowledge, photography knowledge you have, the better you'll be able to cope with the limits of your gear. So it's very important that you develop your knowledge, photography knowledge. Very often people, they play with the camera, but they don't take time in learning photography, learning exposure, learning composition, learning colors, all this. They just spend time taking pictures, but they don't develop their photography knowledge. You can do it reading or seeing some YouTube videos or something, going to lessons, courses, whatever, workshop, whatever. But it's important that you develop your photography knowledge. Forgetting for a while about the gear. Think about the knowledge, photography knowledge. This is really the key to then go push further the limit of your gear. And second, it's important that you perfectly know the gear you are using. If you don't know your material, if you don't know your gear, you cannot push its limits. So it's important that you know what your camera can do and what it cannot do. So when you know what it cannot do, you must find some alternative. And if you use it along with your photography knowledge, you can really push your gear further. For example, let's say you're doing some car racing photography and your autofocus is really bad, so it's going to be really hard to capture the car in focus. Okay, So you feel your gear is not good for that. But your knowledge will help you do a pre-focus. So you pre-focus on the place where the car is going to pass, and when the car passes, then you trigger. So thanks to knowing the limit of your camera, instead of missing a lot of pictures out of focus, you know that your knowledge help you focus, pre-focus before, obviously, and make the picture right. So you combine both. Or for example, you want to do low light photography and your camera cannot go with high ISO. So maybe if there's nothing moving in the scene, you get a tripod, and thanks to these extra accessories, knowing the limit of your camera, you push the limit of your camera further using a tripod. Or you don't have much dynamic range on this camera. Well, you can do HDR. I don't speak about tone mapping, which is the crazy colors, which is horrible. I speak really true HDR. So you make several pictures, and then you will keep the right exposure depending on the area. And this way, with your knowledge, knowing the limit of your camera, you push further your possibility to get a better dynamic range. Or same thing, your camera doesn't let you freeze the action of a car passing by, for example, in a car race. So you decide to do a panning. So you will follow the car, the background will be blurred, but the car will be sharp. So it means knowing that your camera doesn't freeze the action because it goes up to 1/2000th of a second, for example, or less. Then you will compensate because you know the gear and you have the knowledge. Or you realize that your camera above 800 ISO has a lot of noise, so it's really horrible. So you decide that for some kind of pictures you will work just in black and white. You don't do it afterward, but before, you already know that this series will be in black and white. Why? Because I still have some noise, not exactly the same as analog noise, but analog grain, but you eliminate the color noise, so it's a bit nicer. So you just adapt your style to the limit of your gear. So you develop your knowledge, photography knowledge, and you know your gear to know its limit, and you push everything further. So it's really important. And don't forget that if you cannot fight against your enemy, the best thing you can do is unite with him. It's important. So very often people say, oh, my camera cannot do this, cannot do that, but they forget about everything you can do with your camera. And there's so many things. So people always speak more about the fallen tree than the 1,000 trees that are growing. Now, think about what your camera can do and try to work with that. Be creative within the limit of your camera. So I see some people say, no, I want to make a picture of a bird that is 500 meters away, and my camera cannot do it. Oh, this is a disaster. So, yeah, but you just want to do bird photography? No. Well, enjoy what you can do with your camera. So unite with your enemy, which is your camera in this case, the limit of your camera, and work within this limit and be creative within these limits and enjoy it. Don't get sour just because there are some things you cannot do with your gear. So this is important. Unite with your enemy and fight together to push the limits. So back to professional. Why are there so many professionals that use top camera gear, photography gear, or not only professional, many experts? Because very often they want to have something that is like a commodity or something easy to more practical. They want safety, security, and they want time saving. Let's say I am wedding photographer. Well, I am, but say I am a wedding photographer, and I cannot afford to have a memory card that fails. So I prefer to have a camera with dual memory card slots. This way, if one fails, I've got the other one. Or let's say I'm a sport photographer, and I know that my autofocus sometimes is not too good, and I cannot fail when a guy is going to score a goal. So I cannot be like this, and then I'm not sure if the picture will be in focus or not, because I'm selling this picture or I'm getting paid for this picture. So I want the really best burst rate and the best autofocus to make sure this picture won't be failed. So this will give me one side, security, tranquility, peace of mind, and I can concentrate on the picture, not thinking will the camera work or not work or this. So this is why many professionals want top gear, or they go to a place where it's really humid or raining. They want a sealed camera because they don't want to get the camera in trouble or to have it break down. So this is more on this side than on better photos. The photos will be as good. It doesn't matter what they're using. Obviously, if it's missed, it's missed. But I mean, if you compare the pictures that are not missed, they probably will be as good. But using this gear will be easier and more peace of mind. Okay. But if you think about it, there are many countries in Africa, in South America, in Asia, where the economy is really a lot worse than the rest of the world, than Europe or the United States or Japan and Australia, and well, forget some, okay? But in this country, they cannot afford to have the best gear, but they still work as expert or as professional, and they still get great pictures, as good as people using better gear or higher level gear. Why? Because they have the knowledge. So obviously they have no other choice than to work with that or take some risk, but they know how to pre-focus, they know how to do a manual focus following a football player, or they know how to make a wedding in low light without a high ISO. They learn all this. It's harder for them, yes. It's a lot less safe if there is a memory failure, obviously, but still they have no other choice than working with that. And when you see their results, you see they are the same or even sometimes more creative, because they have to work with what they can afford, and that's it. So having the best gear, when you can afford it, it may be great, but if you cannot afford it, it doesn't mean you cannot make the pictures. I think a better camera or better lens will not make a better picture. It may help image quality, if we speak about sharpness, noise, things like this. But simply, it will not make the picture better. Most of the time, it will make the picture possible. What I said before, if you want to make a close-up of the moon, if you don't have the right gear, you cannot make a close-up. You can crop after, but the quality won't be the same. Or you want to do underwater photography, fishes and underwater and the sea, okay? If your camera cannot go in there, under there, or you don't have a case for that, simply you cannot make the pictures. Now, if you have a microscope, the latest microscope, you can make pictures of bacteria, and that were not possible 10 years ago. But so this is more this. It depends on the gear. Sometimes the picture is not possible to be made, and that's it. And sometimes, thanks to the gear, it is possible. So I think this is more the difference. I think in general, people have short memory, especially short memory or lack of information. Very often I hear some people saying, if you don't have the latest full frame camera, a really high ISO possibility and a wide angle lens with a really luminous aperture, you cannot make Milky Way pictures. And then I think, yeah, you cannot, can't you? Well, 15 years ago, people were making this picture with typical, what nowadays would be completely obsolete camera, and they were able to make the pictures. So what's wrong now? What has changed in the Milky Way? What I don't see the point. And like 3 years ago, we could not make the pictures, and now we can. The Milky Way, I see it the same way. So obviously, it's a lack of knowledge or information. Or they say that a wedding at night, where I am, we make many weddings at night, but not right now because of the pandemic. But otherwise, we make them. And you hear some people say, now, without this latest Sony Alpha 9 Mark II, you cannot make these pictures, wedding pictures. What are you telling? That like 15 years ago with a Canon D350D, or Rebel, we were making these pictures. So what has changed in that? No, what has changed is that we are always being brainwashed to make us think that our gear is obsolete, and we end up believing it, and we end up buying new gear. So they're always all the time with YouTubers, influencers, and the makers make you think that you cannot do with your gear what you were doing 5 years ago, although what you're doing has not changed at all. So obviously, if you could do it 5 years ago, the situation is the same. Your camera can still do it, and that's it. So they're just brainwashing us. And it's logical that they use our lack of self-confidence. And sometimes you have situations like this. Like 20 years ago, I had an internet company. I sold it to a phone company, a telephone company. And I remember when I started that company, I was working on my own, selling websites. I didn't have any notebook computer to go and show the clients. So what I did, I had some printed screen capture of website. I would show them paper. I was selling really well. So when I started to have some money saved, I decided to buy a portable computer, a notebook. And then it took like 2-3 weeks to get the notebook, and because it was time to send it to the Canary Islands, all that. And during these 2 or 3 weeks, I was not able to sell because I thought you could not sell without a notebook. But that was stupid because I'd been selling on paper for the last 6 months, 9 months, or 1 year. So before deciding I was going to buy the notebook, I could sell. And then when I was waiting for it, I thought it was impossible to sell. And this is stupid. And this is what most people do with their camera. They do great pictures, and one day the chips change and they feel they cannot do it anymore if they do not change their gear. And this is a big problem because these makers, all that, they just use our lack of self-confidence to sell us new gear. And if you could do it 6 months ago, you can still do it. If your camera was good 3 years ago, you still do the same kind of picture, you can still do it. That's simple. What is true is that changing gear may bring you peace of mind, tranquility, that you know that the picture will focus properly, the camera will focus in time, will fire in time, all that. So in this case, yeah, it makes sense to change camera if you see that side of it, but not that the picture is no longer possible to be made. We should not forget that only the best photographers will actually get the best out of the best gear. This is same as musician. You can only get the best out of the best piano if you are the best pianist, or best guitarist, or trumpetist, or whatever. So it's very important that you realize that all these accessories or features that helps making the picture won't make a better picture. It will give you free time or help you not fail, all that. But the picture itself won't be better. So really, people who will gain really out of this are the best photographers, because they will rely on the camera to help them focus, help them this, help them measure light, all that, and they will concentrate on creating the pictures. Okay? They will not see the camera as a creator, simply as a tool that helps them free some space in their head and their mind, and concentrate on making the picture. Okay, so best gear is for really people who get it most out of it are the best photographers. That's simple. And actually, all this new technology make that there are more and more people with less and less photography knowledge. Why? Because if you have a limited gear and you need to think how to make the picture anyway, even if your camera is limited, you have to think, and you have to develop your knowledge to know when it is possible, when it's not possible, some rules, some techniques, some information you need to know as a photographer. But if the gear do part of it for you, then there are many things you don't need to know. I see many people, they don't know how to expose because the camera does it right. But if you tell them, why does the camera do that? I don't know. But this is basic knowledge of photography. So thanks to the camera that does the job for them, they have less and less knowledge. But even worse than that, I think people are less and less creative because of that. I include myself also in this. We are less and less creative because the gear helps us a lot. So sometimes when your camera is limited, you need to find a solution to make the picture possible. And this solution makes you creative in everything, not just the way to be able to make the picture, but also the way the picture will look. When I decide to do some panning because my shutter is not fast enough, then I create a style, okay, although this already exists. But if, for example, I don't have a tripod and my camera cannot do high ISO and I have to drop the speed quite a bit, maybe I would put the picture, the camera in a place where it gives a really strange angle, and when I see that, I think about the angle to include both the solution with the creativity, give a special look. So we nowadays see many pictures that everyone is making the same picture because they use one feature of the camera or one feature of post-production of the computer or the software they use, and it gives the same look. Why? Because they've lost some creativity, because they did not have to work on a solution. And when you work on a solution, at the same time you work on the creativity for your pictures. So this is a double-edged tool. Say the better gear will help you in some ways, but will take out of you some creativity. So this is why only the best photographers who are still creative will really use the gear to better the way they work, because it will free them some space in their mind and concentrate on creativity. So the best gear really helps probably the best photographers on photography side. But for many people, getting the best gear just help them thinking they're better photographers. And that's not true. Not having the best gear will make you a better photographer. And this is the big problem, that many people think this. And no, you are the Indian, and you must think that the arrow is just a tool. And there are some arrows for fishing, arrows for shooting on a target, and arrows for hunting. And they're different. I've practiced bow shooting for many years. And I can tell you the arrow is different, but still you need how to shoot. Okay, so if you like this, I hope you like this video. If you feel it may help any people, please share it on social networks. If you have not done it yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. The small button down here and also a small bell. If you click on the bell, get notified when I upload a new video. My website ericgibaud.com. If you have any question, you can leave a comment below. I also leave some links to my gear on Amazon, also links to other parts of my YouTube channel. Also put links to my PayPal account in case you want to do a donation. Always thank you for that. And please take care of yourself and see you soon. Bye.